So Brian Ortega will be taking on Diego Lopes at UFC 306, aka the Sphere. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why everyone is so confident in Diego Lopes here. I get it, he's a fresh newcomer, he's a new face, he's very exciting. A lot of people like him, but he has a lot of holes that I could see Brian Ortega taking advantage of. If you look at a lot of his pre-UFC fights, the ones that he lost were usually him gassing in rounds 2 and 3. He overexerts himself. He puts a lot of effort into every shot, every blitz, anything he does, he puts 100% into. As you can see right here in his Lux fight, he fought some guy named Amir. I can't say his last name. In this first round, as you can see, they were exchanging in 50-50s. Lopes got the best of some. Amir did as well. Amir was able to get Lopes down, and Lopes got him in an armbar. But off his back, he's very, very active, but he puts 100% into everything. Then the second round comes. Lopes secures a body lock and attempts to take Amir down, but Amir Grambiros reverses him, and then he ends up in full mount. Lopes gassed from the energy he overexerted in the scrambles and the previous first round where he was very active off his back and throwing a lot of caution to the wind on the feet. He gassed in one literal round, and then he gets ground and pound TKO'd. That's a common trait with Lopes. He's not built to sustain that same level of intensity and explosiveness for 3 rounds. He will start to gas, he will start to fade. But in this matchup he has here with Brian Ortega, I do see their grappling canceling each other out and the fight being contested mostly on the feet. So the first area I could see Brian Ortega exploiting is the jabs. Lopes is usually very stationary and flat-footed. Sadiq Youssef, that fight was very short. He was able to dispose of Sadiq Youssef, but he landed a great jab on him. Movsar Evloev in the third round, when Lopes was starting to slow down, even Evloev was peppering him with the jab. Lopes usually stays in a high guard and keeps his head on the center line. Even Dan Ige, he was able to land great jabs as well. Also, when Dan Ige switched to southpaw, he had a lot of success on the feet. He would land straights and jabs frequently on Lopes. I believe Brian Ortega could work off that same sort of game plan. At the moment, there's a lot of recency bias. We saw that fight with Yair. He got hurt and dropped. I will say, if you watch the introduction, he rolled his ankle. So that fight started very, very fucking weird for him. And with that first knockdown against Yair, a lot of people didn't notice. Credit to Yair, it's very crafty what he did. But he actually kicked at the back of Brian Ortega's knee. Brian Ortega picks up his leg, and then he lands a flush straight left on him, knocking him down. So he kind of destroyed his base or altered his base and then landed that left. So it was kind of like almost like an off balance, but still credit to Yair there. I just wanted to point that out. I want y'all to please go watch the TKZ fight. A lot of people are underestimating the striking ability of Brian Ortega. If you even watch the Volk fight, he had good rounds. A lot of those rounds were competitive. The 4th round, he got dominated. He almost got finished. He could have took that 5th round. Volk clearly won the fight, but the rounds weren't that uncompetitive. He was still in the fight. In southpaw, that's where he had his most success, and he was able to actually drop Volk at one point with the straight left. And then versus TKZ, he was orthodox in the first round, then he switches to southpaw, and he fights the majority of the fight in southpaw. He stays in that stance. And yet again, he was able to drop TKZ with a straight left as well. I think overall, Brian Ortega is actually very good in the southpaw stance. If he utilizes the southpaw stance against Diego Lopes, he's going to have a lot of success. Peppering with the jab, shooting straight lefts to the body, staying very calculated in those last 2 rounds. Because after Diego Lopes doesn't get that finish, he's going to start fading. And that's where Brian Ortega is going to take over the fight. Another area that I think Brian Ortega could exploit is when Diego Lopes crashes in. A lot of his blitz are very, very reckless. He doesn't set anything up. He rarely works behind his jab. He does throw jabs occasionally, but in the early rounds, when he wants to get to his opponent, he will crash in very recklessly and open. You could even see against Dan Ige, he's throwing naked hooks, naked uppercuts. He's blitzing in with flying knees, zero setup. And that's where I think another part of Brian Ortega's game is underrated. When guys crash in, he is able to intercept them with elbows. He did it against Edgar, hurt him bad. He also intercepted Holloway with a few elbows at points. He intercepted TKZ with that spinning elbow. He has very exceptional timing when his opponents crash in, and he's able to intercept them. And just to touch on the grappling aspect, it's a fight. You never know what's going to happen. If they have a crazy scramble and Lopes is able to secure Ortega's back, I'm still confident that Ortega would be able to work his way out of there. Lopes had Ige's back a few times in the fight, and he wasn't able to really do anything with it. He also got reversed by Ige. So in the striking and the grappling, it's a common trait with Lopes. He overexerts himself, like I just said. Big movements, big submissions, big swings, anything that he can get, he's going to go for it. But that's going to work against him. Ortega's the more experienced fighter. And if Ortega is in a bad position, he's going to stay composed. He's going to stay patient. And I'm not confident that Lopes will be able to do the same. But this fight should likely take place on the feet, and Brian Ortega will get the better of it. He will have success in orthodox too, but I would like him predominantly to be southpaw because there's a different angle. Lopes is just too open on the feet for Brian Ortega not to take advantage of him. I see Ortega's straights having overall the most success versus Lopes. Lopes moves back in a straight line. He never takes angles. So as soon as he throws something naked, Brian Ortega's going to tag him, and then he's going to try to retreat, but he's going to retreat in a straight line. He's not exactly getting himself out of danger. Also, in the third round specifically, I could see Brian Ortega starting to invest to Lopes' body. Even against Ige, Ige was starting to rip hooks, and you could see it was taking an effect on Lopes. Once he starts slowing down and you put him on the back foot, the danger factor is almost non-existent, and he shows up and takes his shots. Brian Ortega is not a fighter you overall want to be gassing against, and this fight should be a constant fast pace. And once Ortega starts giving Lopes a lot of resistance, it's going to turn into a completely whole different fight. I do expect Lopes to win that first round, but I don't think it's going to be as dominant. In the pocket, like I said, he's very open. He's going to get countered. We've seen Ortega trade with a great boxer in Max Holloway and have success. We've seen him trade with Volk. We've seen him trade with TKZ. All these good strikers. He's had success. He has good uppercuts in orthodox. He has good left hooks. He has good straights. Punch variation for Ortega is not as limited as we perceive. The overall experience, the cardio, and the boxing ability of Ortega will win him this fight. He's going to throw check Diego Lopes for a lot of the gays, but honestly, I saw this coming a mile away. Everyone's been hyping up Diego Lopes, but Brian Ortega is going to put him back in his place, and he's going to show Diego Lopes who the real Mexican is, man. This guy think he's Mexican. He's not Mexican. He's fucking Brazilian, man.
You've got nothing to say face to face. Give me that. Special in that.